Is being a writer worth it in 2024? I get asked this question more often than not. I get asked across all social media platforms because people want to know if they can still monetize their writing and if there is enough money in the industry. My answer to that is no. But what do I mean by no? First of all, I like to give reasons why writing isn't worth it. Not every creative pursuit is worth it, and writing is one of them. Writing is very competitive, first of all. It's very elitist. It's still very elitist at the moment. Luck plays a huge role in the industry. And even if you are traditionally published, the payouts can be terrible. I do know a few people who are with the big publishing houses, and it's not what you think it is. It's very, very dismal, very, very low, and some of them have had to take on extra jobs just to support their writing. Writing has not only its creative challenges, but also its financial challenges. If you're a person with a family, you need to support yourself. You live in a major city in the world. A lot of the world is becoming more expensive now. You need to be able to support yourself, which is why a lot of people do not write for creativity. They're looking for profit-motivated reasons, and that's perfectly fine. One thing I found with people who write, especially people I've met in the past, is they have an idea for a book, they start writing it, they have this, and I've heard this term, the great American novel, or the greatest book you ever read. And I find that people who are into the thought process of, I'm going to write, and it's going to be the greatest thing ever, it's going to be the greatest book ever, and then they release it to, no buzz whatsoever, no excitement, no cheering audience. It can be very disheartening to watch those people, to observe them, because you see the light gradually leave their eyes. Now, I've written my whole life. I was writing when no one read my writing. I was writing when I didn't intend on showing it to anyone. I was writing in my bedrooms. I was writing in the kitchens, in the corner of the house, in the garden. I wrote because for me, writing was something I couldn't do without. It was my therapy. It was my reason for waking up in the morning. It was my reason for living. Now, I didn't have a difficult childhood. I had an amazing childhood. It was very easy, but for me, writing was a form of escape. It helped me escape, and it helped me go into new worlds and enter new portals and just imagine all these beautiful, fantastical creatures and these cultures and these, just create these layers of different worlds and different events happening. So, is being a writer worth it? Yes, as long as you are not pursuing money and as long as you're not pursuing profit. That is the first thing. You have to write for the love of writing. If you are writing for the idea of profit, like so many people do, if you're writing for the accolades or you want to make the bestseller lists or whatever, you are going to have a very difficult time. And I think before you go into whether you want to be a writer or not, and whether it's worth it, you have to be willing to write for free. And you have to be willing to write for yourself. And you have to be willing to just write for the sake of writing. Because you like words on a page, because you like putting pen to paper, you have to be willing to write just for the love of writing. Because that is what will get you through the most difficult periods in your writing career if you do decide to make it a profession. Okay, now when I first started writing, obviously I was a child. I've written my whole life. There was one period, one particular year, where I didn't write because I was working in the city of London at the time, and it was the most grueling job. It was very well paid, but it was very grueling. The environment was very toxic, and I was so busy trying to survive and just stay in that environment. There was no creativity. It was very bland and very cold and very inhospitable. And it was one of those environments where if you were seen, you know, maybe at your desk with a notebook and writing away, that was suspicious. What are you writing about? Who are you reporting to? You know, so it was a very bizarre environment. I look back on it now and I think, oh my goodness, these people were all very traumatized by something. But I ended up putting all my writing away and trying to become someone else, and it didn't work. It backfired horribly. That was one of the most depressive periods of my life, and till today I go cold when I think about that period. So writing for me is about survival. Writing for me is about escapism. For some it's painting, for some it's drawing, for some it's sketching, for some it's hiking, for some it's, you know, skydiving. Some people need to go running, or I have to write because that is how I find peace. Make of that what you will, and I think there are quite a few of us who are like that. Writing will always be worth it because, first of all, if you do write for profit and you are successful, and you do write to market, and you do write to sell your books to readers, you have to think about the impact on the readers. That's the first thing. When I first wrote my Dwellers Beneath the Arches series, I had readers emailing me and messaging me on social media to say, oh wow, they resonated, some of the characters really resonated with them, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And furthermore, when I had a bereavement in my family, I picked up a book I'd been planning on reading. That was Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. I've probably completely butchered his surname, but I picked up that book shortly after my grandfather had died. I began reading it, and I laughed. I laughed and laughed and laughed. And people would go past my room and knock on my door, "Are you all right, sweetheart?" And when they saw me reading, they just left me to it. But your books will have an amazing impact on readers. So will your stories, so will your poetry. All your written work will have an amazing impact on readers all over the world. In terms of personal growth, I do believe writing is very important to personal growth. Just examining the process of how you write can lead to a lot of self-development as well as self-discovery. I didn't realize how creative I was until I started writing and actually releasing my books. Because normally I would just write, put it to the side, write the next thing, put it to the side, write some more, put it to the side. The writing was for me. But when I started to release the books, it was a very humbling experience to see how many people out there love the books, love the way my mind worked, and resonated with my characters, and just loved the worlds I created. Okay, so there's that. And then obviously writing is amazing because you are intellectually stimulated. You use so many words. You have to find the right words, the right connotations, the right grammar, the right text. Are you writing in Victorian London? You need the right vocabulary for that. Are you writing an upper middle class family living in London? You need the right vocabulary. Are you, so you have to be stimulated, and you have to go out there and explore the world and see all these beautiful people and amazing people and eccentric people around you, and you take in all this, and there's all this continuous learning. There's also so much intellectual engagement during the writing process as well, and that's one thing I absolutely adore, how I can go into a cafe, sit down for a few minutes, and I just start to notice these things, and they just start to set off characters in my mind and plot characters, and just, and one of the most powerful scenes I've written was in Marrakesh in Morocco, and that book was very powerful and was amazing because it was a testament to how your surroundings can influence the immediate work you're writing. Now, being a writer will teach you to be resilient and to be persistent, most of all, because there is nothing quite like writing blurbs, editing, writing an entire 90,000, 80,000 word book, and trying to market it, and or if you're going the traditional route, trying to find publishers, agents. Sometimes the agents can be very rude, they can be very disrespectful, they can be very short, which there's no reason whatsoever for that, but I think they see themselves in a position of power and they think, we don't have to show any form of respect to this person, or any form of kindness, or any form of just, the slightest modicum of respect. So it will teach you to be resilient, but persistent as well. And you will realize that in the industry, like in any other working industry, there is a lot of toxicity, there is a lot of influence, there is a lot of, there's prejudice as well. There are agents and publishers who want you to write characters a certain way, they want to stereotype characters, so there's all that going on as well. But if you can rise above it, and if you can find your audience, you will not be, once you find your audience, it's the most amazing feeling. And once you know how to connect with your audience and how to market the books and how to go on social media and how to approach people on social media about the experience of writing and about the experience of being within your books, it's amazing. So you've actually gone further above anyone else in the industry. So that is an amazing feeling altogether. And there's nothing quite like readers writing to you or leaving their reviews. Even if the reviews are bad, because bad reviews are very telling as well. Bad reviews tell you a lot about the people who read the story and whether they should have been reviewing those books or not. Communication through writing is something else that is absolutely beautiful to me. I like to send out little messages, and I like to, create all these worlds and have my characters communicate with each other in a way that I wish I could communicate with, in the real world. I wish I could be, wield a sword or a bow and an arrow and go around on horseback and, or have a spear and just go around avenging people, but that would not go well in the real world. So you can sort of live through your characters, you can sort of communicate with the world through your characters, you can sort of relieve your stress, your irritations with the world, your anger, your anguish through your characters. So it can be a very therapeutic method of working. And obviously you do have freedom of expression as well, which is completely worth it, where you can communicate your beliefs, whether you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're Jewish, whatever you are. You can write your stories and market it to the right people. So that is also a beautiful concept, because there's such a big world out there, there's such a huge market, and you just have to find the right people. And I think once you do, you can find people who are on the side of your religion or your beliefs, or whatever your stories are about. You can find the right audience, and to me that's a beautiful thing. For me, in terms of alternative careers, you can do so much in writing. You don't always have to write physical books, you don't always have to write paperback books. You can also write ebooks, you can release ebooks, you can write short stories. You can just choose to write short stories and have a short story maybe once a week. So you can choose to write a story or write poetry and just release once a week on social media, and you get your audience that way, and you find people who love your work and they want more of your work. And that can also, in a way, lead to your own writing career or your own publishing career. So you don't always have to go via the traditional route of writing, where you're either going indie, well, indie is not traditional, but going in the independent route, or the traditional route. You can actually just say, okay, I want to write on social media every day, and have that, and people will come and find your work. I used to follow a few poets on Instagram. I still do, and I follow them religiously, and I just love listening to their words and just watching the scenery as they speak. And for me, that is amazing. I've actually put an order in for a book that's being released by a poet, and that's how it works. So sometimes you find the audience first, and then you start to release your work. So yes, writing can be unstable. It can be financially unrewarding. It can be full of, you will get some harsh critique when you write and when you release books, and you have people who have a lot to say without having anything to say, and sometimes the critique is bad, and sometimes the critique is very spot on, and I completely understand that. But at the same time, writing for me is the most beautiful thing you can do. Writing, I would not be able to live without writing. It's very, very important for my mental health. It acts as therapy for me when things start to get difficult, and it just gives me peace. And for me, there's nothing more beautiful than pen and paper. So as to whether it's still worth it to be a writer, there's so many questions you have to ask yourself. But you have to write for the love of writing. You have to do anything for the love of it first. You have to love it, and you have to be willing to do it for free for a very long time. You also have to be willing to spend a lot of time doing it without any reward. And it's something that you have to be able to come back to time and time again, even when times get rough or things are going wrong. And perhaps one day you'll be able to make a huge cultural contribution to the world, and your books will live on even after you've passed on from this earth.